Yeah, hello, people. Hello, George. Hello, Joshua. Theseus the Destroyer. Hello. Let's see. All right. So we're doing Ask Uncle Birch, but I'm also be talking about their new class. I found Wittershins. I found it's easier to post a live video than to go through the whole thing of shooting a video, trimming a video, and then uploading the video. And then some of my devices, when I send it to the wrong page, there's another page out there under the name Michael Carell where I accidentally have 4 freaking videos because YouTube decided to make another page one day. So I find it's easier to do it this way. So here we are again. I started another class August 1st, and now I have to start another one. The demand is just high. So November 1st, probably Samhain at midnight. Probably when the class is going to launch. For those of you that don't know, I've been teaching these year-and-a-day courses. Started one in March, filled up. Just started one in May, filled up. Started one in August, filled up. People still chomping at the bit for another one. So, another time, November 1st, 2019, WitchSkewl. We're going to be opening. Now, WitchSkewl, for those of you that don't know, is a year-and-a-day course in witchcraft that covers everything that I think a witch needs to know to start their path to, you know what happened? I don't know. To start their path, to start a profession even, or to seek out a coven, go solitaire, everything I think you need. That was going to be like your one witchcraft class that you ever took. Uncle Birch has designed a course of everything that I think you need, everything that I think based on my vast years of experience. I've been doing this a very long time, even on YouTube. I've been teaching witchcraft on YouTube longer than most people. It's going on 10 years now, and then about 40 years of teaching witchcraft. So hold on. Don't ask me the questions yet. I'm still doing the intro work. Some of you people are just chomping at the bit. So, in the year-to-day course, what will you learn? Let me see. You receive at least 3 video classes per month, accompanied by text and PDF material. You also interact with Uncle Birch and receive his personal insights and instruction. Oh, love that part. We will learn craft history like you've never heard, occult philosophy and old lore, probably like you've never heard. Things that have been forgotten. A lot of that. The majority of my career in teaching witchcraft is remembering shit that most witches forgot. The powers of the moon, where science and magic meet, tools of magic, keys of magic, the moon, sun, and stars, spell work, folk magics, various folk magics, combining magics, client work, setting up shop, brewing techniques. I'm going to teach you how to make your own stuff. It's great if you buy it from me. It's even better if you learn how to do it yourself, really. Professional witchery, protection magic, cursing, hexing, and crossing, brewing curses, hexes, and cross conditions, covens and groups, how to join, how to lead. Find me another course could teach you half that shit. I have people taking my class that look at it kind of like in a Wicca sort of way. They've got God, goddess, that kind of thing. And you can do it that way. You know, we won't be talking about the Wiccan read. Well, we may be talking about it, but not supporting it. We won't be talking about the Wiccan read, the threefold law, all the Wiccan stuff. It's more witchcraft, but people can take it as a spiritual practice, take it as a religious practice. It's kind of both for me. And some things are religious, some things are spiritual that I practice. But I've got a just growing number of, let's see, have new customers, receive the last update you sent. Oh, jeez. God, I should have clicked on that. Hold on, hold on a sec. My May 1st class. Hold on, I gotta do something here. Okay. Said save changes, bitch. Save changes, okay. know, I got to go to Maga's first class. I never saw that that thing there to click. Sometimes when people join late, there are some problems. Oh, all right. That was the August 1st one. May 1st. Just bear with me for a minute while I do some work, right? People are so impatient. Okay. Alright, I did that one right. Alright, because yeah, sometimes people will join late, and then if they don't get the class that was sent out, I have to get creative. And I've been rather creative here. I'm cutting off my own freaking head here. Alright, so got a pretty good crowd in here, so let's go ahead and play the game. Little thing we call Ask Uncle Birch. You can ask me almost anything about any kind of magic, and I probably have something to say about that type of magic, even if it's a magic that I don't specifically practice. Try not to be too long-winded. The balloons are very small. They only hold a certain amount of text, and I'll miss your question. Try not to ask me a question when I'm answering a question, although I've gotten really good at ignoring questions when I'm answering a question. Good idea to copy your question so you can paste it later after Uncle Birch misses it several times. You probably already know. Uncle Birch's been teaching witchcraft probably longer than your parents been alive, most of you. Been teaching stuff. People forgot all the stuff that was taught, and my thing, I got a long memory for witchcraft. Hello, M. How are you? See, I trust your classes. So the March class. So after Hex Fest, I'm a little behind on putting out my classes. So yeah, I'm still catching up on some of that. But I think your class is up to date at this time. Let's see. Hey, Birch, any tips and wise advice on astral projection? I've never done it, although I lucid dream often. Well, first of all, the way I learned it was a meditative process. You're lying on the floor, and you kind of meditate from the top of your head down to the soles of your feet, turning your body into like lead or something heavier than lead. You're mentally weighing your body down. And then once you've gone all the way through that process, you try and step out of your body without your body leaving the ground. You know, your spirit, your astral self. You will probably snap back several times because it's kind of shocking at first when you first do it, and that makes people jump on back in there. I mean, that's the basics of it, but the thing I always like to point out is in my day, they were the astral planes, and they were opposed or opposite to each other. It's like this one is a mirror image of this one, and a mirror image and a mirror image and a mirror image. There's a whole ladder of them, of lower life forms and energies, all the way up to almost God. And this is the one you really never wanted to mess around on this astral plane. You didn't really want to go there because people tended to not come back for one reason or another. But then post-New Age, it becomes the astral plane. There's no real occult science behind it anymore. They've lost the meaning of the astral planes. And that's, you should try and find some information on the astral planes and see if anybody out there still lists the order that they go into and the purpose behind them. There's a lot of spell work. We're going to want to throw something up on one of those astral planes. So once we remove the physical component in this physical plane, the trickle down effect of flipping back and forth between the planes causes force. It causes it to fall into our sphere with a lot of energy behind it and manifest. Hopefully in the way that we wanted it to manifest. You know? All right, our first question. Woo! We are going now. Let's see. I got quite a few people in here. I always get a good audience in here. I hope you got the rebroadcast of Widdershins with Christian Day. God, it was epic. Probably the least to hear Uncle Birch speak on his show. Have you ever performed the Rose Cross ritual? If so, what did you notice? The Rose Cross ritual is a Golden Dawn ritual. You can see the main elements of the Rose Cross ritual in the Kabbalistic cross. One of the last visualizations of the Kabbalistic cross was the rose here. It was spiritually enlightening, I would say. I mean, this is probably 30 years ago, last time I did such a thing. I recall very profound effects. All of those, the old ceremonial rituals, they're rather powerful. Are the Akashic records real, and can anybody access them? Kind of, but it's just got so new agey and cheesy that, and when somebody says Akashic records to me, my brain turns off, and I'm no longer listening to that person, and they become silly in my eyes. Likewise, people that use the word channeling, there's just certain words that became new age words. Possession, that's cool. Channeling, that's new age. But in reality, the Akashic Records is seen as a space in space. In reality, we now know that science holds this information is encoded in our DNA. It's in our ancestral DNA handed down to us from our ancestors, and yes, a record of everything that ever happened to anybody is in our DNA. So it's really more of an internal process to get that information, and I can't use the word Akashic Records anymore. It's just, and before that, Akashic Records was used in the occult. We used that terminology, and then it just became so new agey. Gatwood, you again? God, you ask a lot of questions. Can you explain when you throw energy and the sucking feeling? Now I tend to disconnect from a spell when I throw it, but I was taught that certain practitioners, when they first throw like a hex or something like that out, they're connected to it for a short amount of time to feel how it's received on the other end. And if energy waves come back on the beam, let's say, there's a shield up on the other end. There's protections. An advanced practitioner will now either increase the magnitude of the attack or figure out some flanking maneuver, attack you somewhere else. Probably the most common and most effective is to attack your money. In the art of war, that would be attacking the supply line. You attack your enemy's supply lines that they're rarely protected, and they're the most vulnerable part of any campaign. Your supply line might be your bank account. If you don't have protections up around your bank account, somebody might exploit that. Now, when it feels like a sucking feeling on the other end, when it's feeling like it's pulled towards its source, then the belief is you don't have any protections up and they're going to throw harder. And that's why when you use some of like Uncle Birch's transformation techniques, it's devious AF. Nobody's ever ready for that. There is no counter for it, and there is no way to reverse such a process. I built that into the process, knowing all the devious methods that would be used against such a process, and encoded them into the magic itself. If you want to learn that, you got to go to gumroad.com and WitchSkewl, WitchSkewl, and either rent or buy Feeding on Your Enemies. I'll teach you the full technique on how to do that kind of thing. Basically what I was going to say. That the transformation technique makes it feel like it's been received on the other end. I know it corresponds to the element of earth, but how do you deal with insects? I don't like to kill them. I don't like the spiders bite, and holy shit, I do daily LBRP. Okay, I don't kill unless I have to. Spiders are kind of sacred. I've always kind of had to deal with the spiders. Stay up there. You hang out by the ceiling and shit, up on the walls, catch some bugs and stuff, and then, you know, you're earning your keep. If I need down on the floor or something, I might freak out and accidentally kill you. Usually I'll try and relocate them, you know, stick a glass over them. Once they crawl up the glass, stick a piece of paper in between the glass and the wall, and then use that to hold them in and transport them outside. However, years ago I lived in a place called Grass Valley. And once I figured out how to find them, I found that my entire house was covered, not just in black widows, but black widow nests. And it was summer, and they're getting ready to hatch. Billions of black widows would have been all around my house. My child could be harmed. And your Uncle Birch committed mass genocide on those spiders with a spray can. There's, I don't know. Probably wasn't hairspray, but you know, something like that, an aerosol can and a fucking lighter. And luckily didn't burn the house down in the process. Yeah, I committed mass genocide on entire families of spiders. A danger to the children, all bets are off, you're dead. And I teach this one to my kid, you know, we don't want to go around, you know, killing insects, you know, without cause, just because we can. But when you see a couple ants in your house, kill them. If you don't, you're going to have to kill thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of ants. When you've got a couple ants roaming around, those are the scouts. If the scouts do not return and leave a trail back to the hive or whatever, the ant hill, the ants will not return. If the scouts do not return, the ants will not come. So, you know, to swallow your whatever, your pagan senses and kill a few ants, or else you're going to be killing buttloads and buttloads and buttloads of ants. Those are basically the things. You know, if there's a danger to the creature, it's dead. I'm a father. It's dead. I have no remorse whatsoever. A rattlesnake, anything, dead. Not going to relocate them. They can come back. Dead. They're not going to relocate a black widow either. It's, you know, it's a dangerous spider, dangerous bug. It's dead. That's my feeling on that. Go ahead and hate me because I'm pretty. We're doing Ask Uncle Birch. Let's see. Daily magical practice have any effects on the physical body, good or bad? Yes. Well, usually good. I mean, most people's daily practice can be like a dedication practice or saluting their gods, contacting their ancestors, their spirits, this kind of thing. Absolutely. Good effect. I don't know of any, you know, I mean, if you're daily hexing people, that might bring you down after a while. You know, maybe you need to relook at that. If you're daily hexing people, maybe you have too many enemies. Maybe you should stop making them. Oh, goodness. Best defense about, I don't really know if it's a defense against sleep paralysis. Something's telling me bananas. Now I know, I forget what the main nutrient is in bananas, but it's something that we need that we don't get from a lot of other things. Potassium, thank you. Thank you, my brain. Potassium. You don't get enough potassium, you get cramps and stuff like that. And I never heard this anywhere else, but, you know, sometimes, you know, Uncle Birch spends his entire life doing witchcraft and teaching witchcraft. There's no mundane world happening over here. I got one foot in this world, one foot in the other world. And as such, I sometimes get messages. And that just for some reason, bananas jumped in my head, and I thought about it for a minute. And the potassium, you know, it kind of makes sense. Let me know if that helps. A potassium deficiency. Could that have something to do with sleep paralysis? I'm kind of thinking so. Yet I have no reason to believe so, except some invisible being spoke it at me. cream of tartar is the best supplement potassium. Okay, cool. Abre Camino, do you bury it at the crossroads? Not often frequented, doesn't matter. Oh, huh. That's pretty good, Jamie. Nobody ever talks about what you do with the leftover Abre Camino after you boil your bath and stuff. Yeah, that's brilliant. Nice job. Nobody has ever asked that. Nobody has ever put that in any of the books, but it is leftover spell components. You know, it should be burned or buried. Since we're taking that other stuff from the Abre Camino to the crossroads, we might want to do that. Now, in case y'all don't know, if you're doing a road opening ritual, and it's called road opening, and you do not have a plant called Abre Camino, you do not have road opening. You may be removing obstacles and doing some other stuff, but Abre Camino is a specific spell that comes more from the African traditions. And the Latino traditions is actually the words Abre Camino mean road opener. That's literally the name of the plant. In Palomayombe, it's one of the sticks, Abre Camino, and I need to do some research. I did hear somebody referring or saying that Abre Camino and Palo is not the same thing as the plant. I always thought it was just the woody part of that plant. Not sure yet, but it is the road opening stick in Palo. Very hello, Tyrone. Wow, I got like a whole class in here. Several of you, different classes, different students from different classes, looking at creating a servitor as what? Oh, wait. I gotta wrap my head around Josh's thing. I'm looking into creating a servitor as a business and having it feed off the money the business generates. Do you think that'd be a good idea? Okay, so I think for a minute I thought you were gonna be creating servitors for people as a business. So a business server feeding off the money. Now, if it's feeding off of the money, is that your enemy's money? that right away? No, it doesn't sound like a good idea. I would want my servitor feeding off of the negativity sent by my enemies. I would program my servitor how to transform that energy using my transformation sigil, which you can probably find out there. Or you can get the spiritual warfare feeding on your enemies. That'll teach you how to do it. I would want to give my servitor the ability to transform negativity and other energy being sent at me, sent at my business as fuel for the servitor. I'm assuming that the servitor is to create more money, create more business. I wouldn't want it eating the money. I don't want money to be its food. I want it to produce. Money's going to be its poop. It's going to eat negativity and poop out money. That's actually a really good idea for a servitor. Sometimes that imagery kind of just empowers you. Oh, look at now, I got my students having a crosstalk back and forth in the chat room. You kids, get a room. My God. Let's see. Do you recommend? Okay, let's see. Would you recommend the Breaking Shackles spell for 3 days before an Abre Camino spell? Yeah. Where's the Breaking Shackles? Is that one of Mom's? That sounds familiar. I think that's one of Mom's. Yeah. Break shackles before you open your roads, or you can't go anywhere with handcuffs on. Let's see. What trees and roots and herbs are related to transformation? Oh God, there's so many out there. I mean, Abre Camino right there is related to transformation. Hyssop's got those qualities. Basil's got those qualities, especially transforming your money. A whole lot of them out there, but a lost school of magic that I don't see anymore, and I remember components of it, but roots were used for one sort of magic, stems for another sort of magic, leaves for another sort of magic, and blossoms for another sort of magic, all off of that same plant. Now, I would think that the part of the plant that causes transformation would be the root. So then, in that vein, roots of almost anything could be used for that. but I gave you a couple of herbs for that. Wow, now you guys are talking about doing the Lord's Prayer backwards. The Windswept Constellation. I think you're one of my students too, aren't you? Your face looks familiar, but you got a different name here. That's why it's so damn confusing. One of my students here, you know who you are. She walked around for a whole day at Hex Fest before telling me that she was my student. I met her, talked with her, very long time. After one of the workshops, she told me she was one of my students. Like, I didn't know, but I go, but hey, here's some of your classmates right here. Well, actually, I think they're the class ahead of her, but they're all out there. Which course of yours is good for manifesting material goods? I'm working on a money spell. I haven't actually done that on my Gumroad course. I've got some money spells on my YouTube channel here. But I'm getting ready to do some of the more, I mean, Gumroad's where I do really serious stuff. YouTube's where you get it cheap, where you get it free. And you know, there's some stuff that I just will not teach every Yahoo out there. They at least need to cross my palms with silver before I'm going to give up that information. So a lot of my more volatile stuff is over there at gumroad.com/WitchSkewl, WitchSkewl. In case you just joined us, as the title said, I got to start another year in a day course starting November 1st. So, I mean, definitely in that course, you're going to get everything because a year and a day is worth it. If it's the one in the first month of course materials, Birch. Yes, so all right, so for my students that didn't get the memo, I did give you a copy of Mastering Witchcraft. With your materials. It was not issued as recorded reading or a portion of the course. I want my students to have, you know, many study materials, but there are some that are really good out there that are not in print anymore and available in PDF, or the people that owned the copyrights are long dead. And so I give my students some books sometimes. But yeah, so that's, you know, Mastering Witchcraft's one that I learned when I was a kid. It was one of the required reading in my course when I was a kid. Maybe you heard me say that, but it's not required reading, and you're not required to do any of that for my course. You can. Let's see. You think people should change Halloween to the last Sunday of October? No, it's stupid. There's pagan reasons for these holidays. It's the veil between the world of the living and the world of the dead is the thinnest, and that's when it happens. You can't just change that. So it's stupid. We adjust. You know, I went trick-or-treating when I was a kid on weeknights. Sometimes it was weekends. You know, deal with it. You know, the holidays happen when they happen. What they could do, rather than bitch about this, is give people a couple days off work. Recognize that it's a sacred fucking day. Let's see. I should be stupid. As long as I learn how to manifest everything I want. Oh, well, you can. That's going to take some study. You know, at least a year a day. They're yeah. But yeah, I teach some witchcraft that nobody else is going to teach. Managed to transform the negative energy and got a big boost. Putting out some good work, okay? Oh, Tyrone, hello. Well, that's the thing. They can change it, you know, they can change Halloween, but Halloween is where, Samhain is where Halloween come from. It's really twisted. But all of the pagan holidays exist in our mundane society just with a very plastic veil on it. You know, like the Easter bunny, you know, laying little plastic eggs full of candy and shit. Easter bunny was absolutely a pagan concept. Everything about Easter was pagan. Everything about Christmas was pagan. And we just get these plasticized forms, Santa Claus and elves on shelves. But the real holiday was pagan, and all of the main elements of the pagan holiday still exist right in our face, just in a weird, bastardized and plasticized kind of way. Um, and absolutely Halloween. Uh, Samhain was when your ancestors crossed the veil and came to see you, and they expected offerings and treats, if you will. And if you did not leave them offerings, they were rather offended. They wouldn't really harm you since they're their ancestors, but they would they'd fuck with you. Yeah, hide your chariot keys and shit. I don't know. But they would mess with you. They would mess some stuff up. Trick or treats comes from that concept. They can't be taken apart, and that's the idea. They want to separate the kids' rituals from the pagan ritual, but the kids are acting out the heart of the ancestors and going knocking door to door begging for treats, like the ancestors would do. Okay, I'm going to give you all a minute, figure out your questions. I got to go down and visit the big boys' room. I'll be back. You can look at the lovely scenery while I'm gone. Alrighty then. 33 minutes. Alright. We got a ways to go. So we're doing Ask Uncle Birch. Jamie's in the August 1st course, whoever just asked that. Which common oils correspond to the planets? Well, Uncle Birch is a walking, talking encyclopedia of magical lore, but I still refer to my notes sometimes when I'm doing a planetary oil. There are some basics. I mean, I'm going to ask you to look those up. They're plants. Plants associated with the planets, plants that correspond to the planets, plants that are sacred to those planets. Yeah, you're gonna have to look those up, and then you make those plants into an oil, and you mix those components of the oil together. Right away, even though it's not always corresponding to Mercury, I recognize rosemary as a very Mercury-like plant. The things that it's affecting, mental processes, communication, that kind of things. I'll probably incorporate that, even though it's probably not listed as ruled by that planet. So, if you get, most of the old books like Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Herb Magic, a lot of these books are filled with tables of correspondence, and those are the kind of things you want to. Lavender's good. Those are the kind of things you want to write down first thing in your book of shadows. The first. Probably half of my book of shadows is correspondences. This plant corresponds to this idea, to this goddess, to this stone, to this color. It's like, correspondence is a very specific art in hermetics. We can't really get away from it. So you're gonna have to do some research on some of that. Should we read it? Should we read what? The book I mentioned, the first class, the Book of Black Magic and of Paths. Should we read it? You can read it. I mean, we're really not covering that kind of thing. Um, Actually, I did just cover that kind of thing in class 19, but you're not there yet, I don't think. And these people don't even have class 19. It isn't even released yet, probably sometime tonight. Um, maybe as a curio. I mean, if you got it in PDF, yeah, read the book. You learn a lot of magic. I more mentioned that book. The look of that book at the time, it was a black leather bound book with gold writing, and I would carry it around my high school like it was my Bible, and it kept a lot of people from fucking with me. So I didn't necessarily recommend that as recommended reading material, but yeah, why the fuck not? You should read all things. You need to know how good people do good things and bad people do bad things, so you know how to deal with all those things. So you can do good, and you can stop bad, and do bad when you need to. I'm not gonna judge you. So that means Donzo's in my class too. Jeez. I haven't even gone live on my WitchSkewl channel yet. I do that. What did you recommend in your videos on holy water for an asperging device? Can we just use our fingers? Well, I think there was a very specific device that I laid out the configuration of, and it was the first time I'd heard of it, so I really can't tell you how to make that. But two of the most traditional plants for sprinkling holy water are rosemary or rue, depending on the region of the Catholic Church. What do you do for the crazy ingredients? Raven, bile, human skulls, etc. Well, it's kind of tough. It depends on where you live. Definitely found dead ravens, raven feathers. Skulls can be problematic, can be against the law. Apparently in New Orleans you can't have human remains. In most places you can't have human remains unless you have documentation to prove that you obtained them legitimately, whatever that is. Those aren't the kind of things I would really want to substitute. That's kind of extreme important. It's not like substituting an herb. You could chance grave robbing, George Phillips said. Yeah, it's kind of tough. Can't you just get a toy skull? Yeah. I mean, maybe if you had to, you know, does it have to be a human skull? You get an animal skull? I mean, maybe I'd do that. Maybe I'd do an animal skull than a human skull. Cause you a lot of trouble, but not a plastic skull. Plastic, for one, it's an insulator. Plastic will stop electricity from flowing through it. Magic follows most of the same rules as electricity, so we wouldn't want to use plastic for pretty much anything magical. But there are those books, and I think I just saw one, the Icelandic Book of Ways. And whenever something says of ways, it's coming from some really old stuff. People don't talk like that anymore. While we're on the dark side, when did we leave the dark side? What happens? Oh. I guess you just texted me. While we're on the dark side, what happens if one does the LBRP with inverted pentagrams? I think that actually is a thing. That is done. I don't think I've ever done that. But what people tend to forget is there's only a differing in philosophy when the points are pointed in a different direction. It's not what most people think. This typical pentagram with its point up is symbolic of the philosophy of spirit over the flesh. The opposite is the philosophy of flesh over the spirit. Depending on what you're doing, might be a time to do, do them inverted. You know, somebody out there has got to have, how do you draw those? Because there can be a specific way to draw invoking and banishing. And I have seen it, so if there's somebody out there doing that, I don't think I've actually done that myself. But put on my list. There's running out of things I haven't done myself. We're doing Ask Uncle Birch, where I'm getting ready for my next year of the day course in witchcraft. And it's going to start November 1st. And for those of you listening and interested in that thing, here's how the thing has to work. I have an unlimited amount of slots that I can secure for the class if people contact me ahead of time. You have to contact me at WitchSkewl@gmail.com. That is WitchSkewl@gmail.com, and I'll secure a spot in the class. Now, some people, you know, they don't want to commit or whatever. They want to take their chances. Somewhere around midnight, October 31st, somewhere around there, because I'm going to be doing witch stuff too, so I'll be uploading that probably while I'm in circle. The class will appear. I cannot, and be after midnight, because it's got to appear on November 1st. If I post the class before November 1st, I get people signing up ahead of time, and there's no classes that month, and they've already paid for that month, so there's no way to set it up ahead of time. So the class suddenly appears. Do not go to gumroad.com/witchschool and sign up on anything else that says year in a day, unless you want to take the August course and catch up. I don't know. We're still in August. I guess you could jump into that class if you really can't wait. And if the classes don't update, I guess you could still jump in the August. Okay, so other than the August 1st year in a day witch school, I would recommend jumping into the other ones. I've had people do that. They jump in the wrong class, and then it's a gaggle from hell fixing it. But sometime around November 1st, this class will appear. My class goes for $35 a month. It is automatically charged to your credit card. You set up an account at Gumroad, and it just does all that billing shit for me. And all I have to worry about is teaching witchcraft. That's what I love. I never wanted to be a bill collector, hound people for money. Most people didn't make me hound them for money because they're scared of me. But a few times I did have to do that. I didn't like it. So either contact me at witchschool@gmail.com or go to gumroad.com/witchschool, WitchSkewl again, on November 1st, and the class will magically appear, and you can sign up on it. Now that class will fill up at some point and will cut off and not allow anybody else to get in. But if you contact me ahead of time, I can get you. Now, I saw a question I wanted to get to. Am I still warring with on me a couple times, and it was funny as fuck. For those of you that don't know, David Griffin is the self-appointed head of the Golden Dawn, who saw fit to take it upon himself to try and thwart all the magics that witches were doing against Donald Trump. He did this by building the equivalent of magical lightning rods around his property to call all of these spells to his property, where he thought he would be able to deal with them. What happened to him is the death of a son, serious injury of the wife, death of the dog, car crash where he almost died, and that was last year. I haven't even kept up on it. I've never been at war with David Griffin. He did try and throw at me. I transformed it, made me a nice paycheck that month, but it was never big enough to be at war. Now, David Griffin did try to start a fake war between him and EA Coding. EA Coding didn't bite, but as a kind of a publicity stunt, David Griffin's trying to go out there and start fake wars, act like they're in a war for some sort of propaganda or something like that. The left-hand path versus the right-hand path, and so far nobody's wanted to bite it because David Griffin doesn't know any fucking magic. And I said it right here. Apparently he didn't use my technique for transformation. No, he did not. But I did upon him, or I did, with his stuff that he sent me. And it worked out well for me. I was laughing on the way to the bank. Tyrone, you're gonna love this next class. You'll see. Probably later tonight. I got the. I'm right in the middle of Hollywood. And I have the internet connection of a third world country, and it's the best internet provider available. So it's going to take me hours probably to upload that class. Right now I'm using my internet, so I can't upload that class, but sometime tonight you're gonna particularly enjoy this one. Find the name. Oh, okay, somebody's discussing their name. How often do I work with Osiris? Not that often. I mean, I did back in the day, but I don't really lean to the Egyptian pantheon. It's never been one of my fortes, one of my leanings. But having said that, every Wiccan initiation, every initiation in witchcraft, has borrowed the majority of its elements from the initiation rituals from ancient Egypt. We do have a lot in common, a lot of places in the stars where we all look to for the same things. But the main things that I kept from that, even though we may be dealing with different gods, there's two gods. There's the rising god and the dying god, and that's all they do. They rise, they die, they rise, they die. And another god takes over. But two main things: Osiris risen, Osiris slain. Life, death. Two main positions, stances, if you will, of God. So I guess in that, I kind of work with Osiris because I mimic his position relatively often. Osiris is Jesus. Kind of, I mean, we know, and I know, hopefully you know, because you can Google this. Back in the Middle Ages, a bunch of white men sat in a room with a mountain of books meant to go in the Bible. They threw the majority of them out because they did not fulfill their political agenda of patriarchy and male dominance, and other things too. And in that meeting, they said, and I can almost quote, we have no date fixed for the birth of Jesus. We don't even know what time of the year this happened. To quote, further legitimize the tale of Jesus, we are going to superimpose the Jesus mythos onto the date associated with the birth of God since the dawn of time. And that would be the winter solstice. And they said this in front of God and everyone, and it was written down, and you can look it up. It's out there. It's not debatable. It's biblical fact. They imposed Jesus upon them. And in that, it's all about the sun. Jesus travels around the heavens with his 12 apostles. The 12 apostles are the 12 signs of the zodiac. When the three wise men, which we should know are the three stars in Orion's belt, line up in between the legs of the constellation of Virgo, which translates in the old language to virgin. Winter solstice is upon us. It's coming. The winter solstice is when God dies. And it was the belief of ancient people that God died for 3 days and then rose from the grave. This is because in the northern hemisphere, the sun dips down below the horizon and disappears for 3 days, and then comes back up. And then we're, slowly on our track to summer now. God's on his rise now. This is where the idea of Jesus lying in a tomb for 3 days and rising from the dead came from. It didn't exist until they superimposed his mythos onto the mythos of the sun god, corresponding to that god. The 3 days later would probably usually be the 25th of December. So it all adds up. But kind of problem was is like all that stuff in the Bible was metaphors for planets and stars. All the characters in the Bible were planets and or stars in other pagan cultures prior to the Bible. And the Bible took a metaphorical tale and tried to tell it literal. I mean, people trying to take this tale literally when this tale is in fact an astrological calendar or astrological calendar of history. Something happened when Lucifer fell. Lucifer was Venus. Falling was retrograde. 72 angels falling was probably a meteor storm of about 72 angels. I've said this countless times, but apparently not enough for everybody to hear it. So I don't know what the hell question I was just answering, but that's the thing, man. You get more bang for your buck with Uncle Birch. You never know what he's gonna say. He rarely sticks to the script because he never has a script. We're doing Ask Uncle Birch. Give it a shot. Is Pope Runyon a reliable authority on goetic evocation, in your opinion? With everything he's put out, and I could listen to him all day. I don't know how old he is. It was a cartoon, and not as impressive. The battle scenes were kind of a bunch of dots going around. I mean, I think that was in Lord of the Rings, but a bunch of dots on the battlefield going like this. It was not as epic as the movies, but the narrator for the original Hobbit reminds me very much of Pope Runyon, and I should try and get him on the air. I should try and get him on Widdershins. He has taken note of me citing his work a couple times. Some of his work, I mean, his work's available for free on YouTube, but some of that same stuff that he did on YouTube, he made in audiobooks, but it's the same material you can get on YouTube. It's just as an audio book. I can just listen to him all day long. Yeah. Nothing bad to say about Pope Runyon, man. It's just his voice, man. He's just so fucking theatrical, and that lends an energy to your craft. So I would call him an authority, yes. You're welcome, George. I think that was you. You're saying thanks for something, so I'll say you're welcome. Yeah. So we're doing an Ask Uncle Birch. I'm getting ready for another class, November 1st. Balancing Venus and Mars. Love, lust, energies in relationships. Oh God, really? Okay, I'll have to get this other question in a minute. I'm not thinking of like balancing them magically. They are both. Lust is a primary motivating factor in relationships. Part of the problem I find in relationships, people trying to make it air. They're trying to make it logical and make it make sense. They want to make sure, I want to make sure I'm not in a codependent relationship, blah, 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 blah. Bunch of psychological shit that they've heard. But what floats in a relationship is water and fire, love and lust. That's what floats a relationship, not how you think about it. The best relationships you've had in your whole life, and probably the ones you will have for most of your life, won't make sense. They will not make logical sense. You will not wrap your head around them. It's not that kind of thing. So I don't know how you're going to balance that. To get a lot of sex and give a lot of love, but you do have to balance those out. You do have to balance those out. Maybe some pillow talk after you fuck. I don't know, but they do need to be balanced out. Venus and Mars are not necessarily opposed to each other. Everything contains within it its opposite, and most times we want to bind down the action, not want it. With regard to Venus and Mars, we kind of want those going back and forth, and maybe that's the balance part, back and forth, back and forth. We're not always fucking, but we're getting love, or we're not fucking. But yeah, balance them out. Now this one I have to go. What's my opinion of EA? Trying to be nice. Not impressed. Impressed by the whole become a living god. Not impressed by most of it. I've known people writing for him, and it greatly harmed their careers working for Bulk. Become a living god. Now, Uncle Birch, shortly after I got to Hollywood, the Hollywood people found me. And I was interviewed for a series by A&E, but it's scheduled to be aired on Shudder, which is a paid service for like horror movies and stuff. But A&E owns it, so I'm hoping it's going to end up on A&E at some point. But the thing was supposed to be out in March. It's not out yet. They keep like polishing it up. But they came to my house because they saw they had a beautiful view of the downtown Hollywood skyline out my front window, and it was just a no-brainer to shoot it in my living room. I had a whole fucking production crew, lighting, sound, the director, the cameras, all in my living room. It was really cool. It was called Cursed Films. And it's about movies and movie sets that had curses on them, and a lot of the actors suffered like the people in the movies, like The Omen. Several people in The Omen died just like the characters depicted in the movie. One person was cut in half in a car accident, just like in the movie. A lot of these things, Amityville Horror, they had human remains as part of the props on set, and that caused some problems. So I did this whole thing. I gave an interview discussing how these things can be done, how they're typically, done, and how it's a valid thing. Here's how you could curse a movie set. When the thing comes out, it's kind of be like Uncle Birch teaching the Muggles how to cast a curse, because I'm always in my teaching mode. But apparently, after they were done with my interview, they went to Utah to interview E.A. Cody, where E.A. Cody performed a death ritual for them. Hopefully it's not a spoiler, but a death ritual for them. I'm Hollywood and all, but sometimes you don't need to Hollywood everything up. That's a little bit too much Hollywooded up for me. I can't imagine what that was like. Oh my God, I'm at 59 minutes. All right, we're going to do a couple more questions. I wasn't allocating too much time to this today because I got stuff to do. Like you heard, I got a class to upload, man. People are waiting for it. Paid students waiting to be taught. You're all getting it for free. Well, some of you are my students, but still. We'll do a couple more questions, then I got to go do other things. We are doing Ask Uncle Birch. You can ask almost anything about any kind of magic. You can ask about coding. I still don't know if I'm saying his name right, but yeah. You're welcome, Theseus, the Destroyer. Alright, waiting. I'm at 60 minutes. I'm going to do 2 more questions. Make sure they're good. If your question sucks, I might just have to skip it. Oh, God. There's people having a flame war on my Facebook page right now. I keep seeing it. Okay, I'm not going to comment on that one. That was funny. You know who you are and what you said. I don't know if when this replays, if people see the questions. That's why I keep trying to read them. I actually enjoy listening to my little lectures. Little? Step off. How do you choose what entities to work with? Well, That's always a good question. If people are going to do this kind of thing, they're going to call up a spirit, even call up a demon, and then believe everything it says. I have some questions to ask. And one, I want your name. What's your name? If they're elusive, if they lie or they won't answer the question, then I'm aware. I am going to ask several questions, and if they're trying to dodge me, I'm not going to work with that entity. They need to be, I'm opening up to them. They have more power than I have in the equation, so they have to be honest. Dude, we know you could talk for hours. Yes, I've literally been doing that today. I've been recording classes, and then now I'm here. I had to go pick up my wife from an appointment of hers, and I came home, and clearly my obsession with teaching witchcraft has not faded at all. Here I am. Yesterday I was somewhere else doing the same thing on another Facebook channel. I'm here, I'm there, I'm everywhere, teaching witchcraft. Just can't stop me. And I just tell them nowadays, I just say, Google me, bitch. Demons be pissed if we backtrack on a task we set for them, like the next day. Yeah, well, the pact is made when you do the work. So if you pacted with this demon, and you can't get demons to do anything without a pact. If you pacted with the demon to do a thing, and then the next day you're having second thoughts or something like that, that's a problem. You may be able to talk them into stopping, but you still have to pay. Whatever you agreed to pay them, you got to pay up. Do not ever stiff a demon. That's how they get you. If they're going to get your soul, that's how they're going to get you. You have a price you agreed to, pay the price, or don't start it in the first place. And don't start any magic at all unless you're sure. Be sure first. And definitely don't be working with demons unless you've made up your mind. This is the thing we're going to do, and there'll be no turning back. Do the thing. All right. I think that was one question. Do you tainted? That's cool. Do you choose a god and goddess to stay working with, or do you work with the best entity for the purpose? I work with the best entity for the purpose. I have many patron gods and goddesses over the years that I have made agreements with and work with me. But Uncle Birch always says, like, if I've got 3 months to wait around for what I need, I'll do classical witchcraft, because they tend to work in lunar cycles. If I need it tomorrow, I'm gonna go Palo, and I'm not even gonna show you where I'm pointing at over there, but he's right over here, looking over my shoulder all the time. And I just suggest any of you. Now, this is a blood-packed religion, and some people might call it a demon. I don't see it as such, but a very powerful African spirit, or a series of African spirits, and they need to be fed blood for one thing, and you might not be willing to do that. So don't mess with them unless you're willing to do that. But there is a certain volatility with that particular magic. The majority of times I've gone over there and talked to my little stone head thing on the floor and poured shit on its head, sang some songs at it and stuff. Shit happens tomorrow. Like other African traditions, the first spirit in the equation, Apollo, Lucero, can be a trickster. He's a trickster. So sometimes the magics aren't that perfect, but once they finally play out, they are perfect. It's just there's something that we didn't see at the time that going to have to manifest. So I would say I pick the entity I'm going to be working with based on what needs to be done in their skill levels in that. Right? So Jason, you're my student too, huh? God. Hi, Jason. I'm your student. Awesome class. Can I keep doing the transformation sigil every new moon? Does it grow stronger? So you're a newer student, okay? Or you didn't see Uncle Birch's lectures from Hexfest, the art of spiritual warfare, or I'm sorry, the art of magical warfare. Sorry, which is on Gumroad. In that, I mean, it's a lecture, so I'm not going to teach everybody my tricks, but I kind of let loose Uncle Birch's idea of the transformation triangle, or I'm sorry, the transformation triangle being turned into shield. The transformation triangle sigil is a triangle, and if you assemble triangles in a specific pattern, you end up with a circle. So Uncle Birch's shields are a series of transformation triangles in the shield. Now, I've trained my shields to go up when I say shields up. No other magic required, nothing. I've done it long enough, that's all I need to say. And I've even trained my shields, if I fuck up, if I'm falling asleep and forgot to say shields up, my first officer is going to put the shields up. So transformation shields can be used all the time. Doing like the full feeding on your enemies ritual, that's a huge ritual. That's going to be hard to do every new moon, but if you can, I would do it. There's all kinds of energies coming in, sometimes energies from your enemies, sometimes just random shit, but just changing that stuff into what you want. Is it true that you should do a specific spell only once a year? No, most spells, if it didn't work, I'm going to do it again 3 months or 3 moons. I'm not going to look at it for 3 moons, so I won't even know if it worked for 3 moons. Then I'm going to look at my notes and go, oh shit, well, okay, that didn't work. All right, let's try it again. Let's try it again with, different emphasis, a different angle, a different windage, if you will. I'm going to aim differently than I aimed the first time. All right, that was a bonus question. That's it. Thank you for joining us. Merry meet, merry part, merry meet again, y'all.